Hello, once again, to all students in Women in Religion. This is the second PowerPoint presentation on Jennifer Marx's dictionary. This particular presentation is only 2 slides long, I believe. But again, just as I did with the other one, the first one, I'm going to go through it rather quickly. But once I do get back, we can discuss in detail any matters that you may still be unclear on. But now we're moving into another section of Haraway's article where she talks about sex and sexuality as viewed as labor. Again, hearkening back to Marxist theory, how the worker is alienated from the product of his work, or is actually alienated from his labor. Though he or she may toil, the thing that is produced is not really owned by him or her. So in this sense, as raw material, we talked about females being raw material that produces women. As raw material, females are compelled by the sex gender system to make what we call women. Again, we're harkening back to this notion that we look using biology to say this is how one is socialized into being a woman, whereby it's a labor exchange, whereby personhood is made into a commodity. That is, a woman, female woman, who may have ideas about who she is as a person, is commodified by the sex gender system to say that she is an object rather than a person. And the labor exchange is that the female, by virtue of being available to any and all men, as I mentioned to you in the other slide, by being made available to any and all men, that she loses her status as person, and then she becomes a commodity. And for those of you who are not familiar with economic theory, a commodity is simply a thing that can be bought or sold or traded. You own a notebook. That's a commodity. Once you've used up all the pages in your notebook, you can either throw that notebook away or trade it in for another notebook of a different color, of a different size, whatever the case may be. So in this sense, a woman's personhood is reduced to the idea of commodity. And this quote, sexuality is to feminism what work is to Marxism, that which is most one's own, yet most taken away. You find that quote on page 61, but read it in context. It's simply the notion that a woman's sexuality, that is, who she says she may desire, be it a person of the opposite sex or a person of the same sex, is similar to the work product of the laborer. You work, it's your labor, you put in the time, the energy, the toil of it, but it doesn't belong to you. That is, you do all the work, but it's taken away from you. So what feminism does with sexuality is to try to reclaim that term, to take it back from this commodification idea, to say that just as Marxism says that workers should reclaim the product of their labor and use it as their own, feminism is saying the same thing about a woman's sexuality. But because we have this sex gender system, that which is most one's own is being taken away from you. And as raw material, females, that is the biology again, you are imagined. And by imagine, I mean that through certain discourses, womanhood is created, that we imagine what a woman is. And through our own imaginations in this sex gender system, ruled by patriarchy, what a woman is, what a woman does, we create that image in our own mind. And if we take it a step further, because generally speaking, what Haraway has been doing so far is to just talk about women in general, primarily white women. but she does give some due deference to the issues of women of color. And we'll talk about this some more when we get into Patricia Hill Collins' piece, Get Your Freak On and Booty Call. Women of color are commodified beings in a special kind of way. And just take note that black women, brown women, are looked at in a different way than white women. So just keep that in mind as we go forward. So construction of woman through the sex gender system continued. Gender as a social construction of woman and man, and the semiotic production of subjectivity. So this whole idea of what gender is. Gender is just a social construction based again on biology, biological sex. So we're going to say that this person is a woman, and we're going to say that this person is a man. And because we're going to say that this semiotic, this kind of commingling production of subjectivity, that is, we figure out who we are based upon how we are gendered. That is, for instance, I would say I'm a man because, and whatever the attributes of manhood that's being thrown out there by society, or some of you would say I'm a woman because, and you are saying this is who I am as a subject, as a being. So, in gender is a system of social, symbolic, and psychic relations in which men and women are differently positioned. And as one young lady had a pick about on the last week, men are positioned above women, or another way of saying it, women are positioned below men in this sex gender system that is ruled by and governed by patriarchy. So the social systems, the symbolic systems, and our own psychic relationships, not just relationships with other people, but those internal relationships that we carry on in our mind based upon gender, we too differently position men and women in certain kind of ways. Again, once I get back to class, we can unpack that some more in terms of how that is done internally. But we can definitely see how that is done externally, that is, through the outside world. So, a woman or women are is defined as imaginary figure, the object of another's desire made real. That is, in a patriarchal system, a sex gender system, the men look at a female and say that this is how I imagine this person to be as an object of desire. And however I imagine this person to be, I'm going to make that a reality. If I imagine that this woman wants me, even though she does not know me, even though she has no desire for me, if I imagine her as wanting me, I'm going to make that real in my mind. And based upon the reality that I create in my mind, I act upon that in terms of how I approach that woman. So this woman is strictly an imaginary figure. And again, we look at the cultural, the historical, and the sexual, how I imagine or how we imagine the women over a period of time or in different social systems and different cultures, we still make that ideal, that imaginary figure, into a reality. So again, we can go back over this when I get back, but I just want to make sure I did post this so that you can take a look at it and view it as much as you want to get a sense of what Haraway is doing in this particular piece.